Hi everyone and welcome to the Jupiter into Aries special horoscope. I am a couple of days late and I do apologize for that because Jupiter entered into the sign of Aries on the 11th of May, so that date has already passed, but it is not really a big deal because Jupiter is a rather quick moving planet, yet it still belongs to the slower moving planets, so it will hang out at that degree for, a couple of days. So where I'm going with this is that we're just into the period of the transition. This is where Jupiter is also acting like it's at a little bit still at 29 degrees of Pisces, that energetic position, but at the same time it also takes on the Aries expression, and all of us need, a bit of time to feel this shift. Now, this Jupiter into Aries season is going to be extremely potent, extremely strong, extremely fated for a couple of different reasons. In itself, this is always a rather special energy because it births something new. Aries has always something to do with the new, even new in the sense something wants to be born, an action, an impulse, an initiative, a desire. Desire basically is the fuel, even from an alchemical perspective, what feeds creation, attraction, even physically, in any way, shape, and form you call it. And Jupiter, the king of the gods, the planet which rules faith itself. So basically, from a more philosophical perspective, isn't faith the core of everything that exists? From the most basic thing, like money is real and it has power over me because I believe in it, because otherwise physically money is just a paper or whatever it is. So in this sense, that faith and belief has a huge power entering into the part of the sky which governs the individual, which governs the prototype, which governs the newest of the new, that which is it's in infant baby stages. And many times, that which is new can also be chaotic, can also just birth itself, and it needs a window of opportunity. Well, that window of opportunity, especially if that something is more Jupiterian in nature, because Jupiter can incorporate so very many different things, because everything starts with a belief, if you know what I mean. So many things, even that which rationally may not be susceptible to Jupiter, yet they still are, because belief is such a powerful component of our existence that we don't even realize it. You know, maybe I'm not justified to say this, but how do we know that perhaps 50% of our own regeneration and healing physically and corporally is not due to our sheer belief of it? Because we know what the opposite does when we believe in the opposite. That will very quickly get us in the grave. So, yes, and Aries has a lot to do with being born, birth, initiative, new, taking action. And yes, of course, it is also conflictual because being born is not easy. It's a process, it's a fight, it's a competition, it's a struggle. A physical birth on a microscopic level, if you know where I'm getting with this, is a competition. The best one, the most competent, the luckiest, or whatever wins. So even life is based on a kind of competition. So all of us, one way or another, are warriors as well. All of us have this Aries in our charts, and even that which is the opposite of a warrior, like the Christ principle, exactly Jupiter in Pisces. Well, even that fights, but not through assertion. It is still a warrior. It is still consolidating, self generating its own existence. That is an act of action, of war, so to speak, but the war not to be understood as something aggressive, as something 3D, but a competition. In which degree, in which manner, even chemistry, the percentage, how much of this, how much of that means harmony and equilibrium. And if that is a choice, belief is a choice, this is when a lot individually, and even karmically, and collectively as well, is in our own hands. That is why this Aries, Jupiter in Aries season is very, very special. This happens once every 12 years, so it's not that very, very rare. Yet in a human lifetime, well, 12 years is still 12 years, but because of the big astrological context of the recent past, like the Jupiter, and Saturn conjunction, Saturn Pluto conjunction, all of the myriad of eclipses and lunations of the past couple of years, and so many other energies that have been playing out, like Uranus square Saturn, that big context makes this extremely important. Because this is where, let's just say individually, all of us have Aries in our charts. This year and 2023, of course, when Jupiter will be in the sign of Aries as well. I'll speak about this in this horoscope. I will get to the dates, I promise. And why is it practical? But before, we have to listen to the philosophy, because this is even more important. So all of us, at least in one area of our lives, will be challenged to embody the warrior, to create, to initiate, to be brave, to project. Yes, sometimes we have to project. Sometimes we have to show who it is that we are at the very core of our beings. Other times we have to show our teeth, our claws. This is where it will be a lot of action. And in this very recent couple of weeks, even couple of months, when Jupiter hung out at that anaretic position of Pisces, where it also met Neptune. Okay, it wasn't anaretic in the literal sense, but those last degrees, they are all a bit, shadowy and heavy and big conclusions. It is at the last degrees when the break, may that be breakthrough or breaking down for good, happens. So that's why all of the last degrees are kind of very, very important. In my personal experience from 25 to onwards, it gets energetic one way or another. So in the last couple of months, a lot has happened in our individual lives. Without a shadow of a doubt, anyone probably watching this channel, watching this video, can say about themselves that they're not the same as they were just a couple of months ago. In at least one area of life, they changed, their lives changed, the landscape, something changed profoundly. And not to mention the world outside and everything that went on the world stage. And speaking out about the world stage, this is also very important because Jupiter now especially, I'm sorry, and at the beginning of this Jupiter into Aries season, so this summer, it will hang out at the first degrees of Aries. So Jupiter will be in conjunction with the world axis. That means big Jupiter, big foundations, big actions, radical changes, radical assertions, playing out in any shape and form, let's not polarize here, are going to take place on the world stage. And also Jupiter amplifies, magnifies everything that it touches. Jupiter's, limit is the starry sky, nothing else. Even because that is infinite itself, that's why. So, Jupiter has no bounds. It doesn't like to have any bounds. And Aries is fire, just like its daytime sign of Sagittarius. Not the same, but fire is still fire. Jupiter can play with fire, inner fire, external fire, heat wave, magma. All of this will be included in this Jupiter into Aries. Physical expressions of fire, inner fire, nerves, nervous system fire, bravery, big acts of courage, life-saving kind of fire, the heat of the sun, the life-giving warmth of the sun. fire will be a big theme, also because no, Jupiter entered into the sign of Aries. That means that Mars very soon will follow Jupiter. That guarantees a meeting, a conjunction, a party between the two in Mars's home sign. So Jupiter will be under the rulership, the dominance of Mars. Mars combusts in Aries, especially. In Aries, Mars is at its finest. And it's not singular, it can spit anywhere at once. So, and Jupiter amplifies, magnifies this, and we also believe it, Jupiter. And it's also an act of justice, self-righteousness, or the righteousness which is parallel to that, the Saturnian righteousness, so a typical court of justice, a justice that is parallel to that. But it's also kind of divine justice, but not directly, not Jupiter in Pisces, but divine justice acting through people, through their instincts, through whatever everyone's instincts guide them to do. So this is very, very special, and even karmically, because when Jupiter is in the sign of Aries, that means that we're not just slaves to karma, we are not passives. We will have a lot of choice, even to break the karma, even to break contracts through assertion. And that means we better start believing in ourselves and our stories and everything that the universe and life taught us these 3, let's say 4 years, past 4 years. Because those past 4 years also include Jupiter being in Sagittarius, his own sign. That is when our faiths and our inner faith system, not religiously, but who it is that we are and what we are doing in the world, everything about us, the details, the big and the small things, Jupiter in the sign of Sagittarius, and what a just life existence means for us personally. And that kind of awoke us that Jupiter entering into the sign of Capricorn, how justice and fairness, material reward Capricorn is organized, we are not pleased with it. We don't believe in it. That started a radical change, a big crisis, a financial crisis even. Jupiter in the sign of Aquarius is incorporated in these past 4 years. So who our friends are? Because our friends are images of us, the individual. If we do not resonate, if we tolerate people in our lives who are not us, even the universe can judge us mistakenly. If the universe wants to judge us through who our friends are, then there's no excuse for tolerating people who are simply not us. The need to being needed is also the devil. We don't need to be needed. We need ourselves and the divine and those people in our lives who the universe planted there, those who are not removable. Those are the people who you need and belong to your story. Everyone else is optional. And it is our duty, Saturn, right now, in the sign of Aquarius. Why is this important for Jupiter? Because Jupiter met Saturn in 2020, December 2020. So Jupiter and Saturn had a good dance and a good chat with one another. And what Saturn demands of Jupiter, if you believe something, then do it. If you believe that that friend of yours, you see that friend with sympathy, compassion, love, but they're on the wrong path, and it's simple, you do not resonate with their modus vivendi, how they live, what they do with their lives, their times, then it is your duty to stop this. This doesn't mean that you become enemies, you just downgrade to acquaintance. Karmically, you did the job. So the universe will judge you differently. The universe will judge you through your friends, your true friends, but who you take responsibility karmically for. Because this is how important friendship and true friendship is. The universe will judge you also through who your friends are. So this is why Jupiter had to do a lot of work in the sign of Aquarius to reconfigure our friendships and alliances, and it went as deep as family connections and ties. And in Pisces, the big karmic conclusions, the epiphanies, the madness when everything is washed into one, when we're totally lost, when the world outside does not make any sense, and ultimately what we saw under a very Neptunian veil was the truth. That the world never ever made any sense. And those people who think they're in control, they're not. Everyone's lost, really. Top to bottom. No one knows what they're doing. No one's really in control. Everyone's just guessing. Because this is the adventure of life. Would you want to show the universe that you know what you're doing? It will laugh at you. That's not. No one, no grand illuminated enlightened grandmaster ever said that everyone perfectly can know what they're doing. No one's supposed to know what they're doing. That's nature, that's the experiment, adventure, Garden of Eden. Why should we know when we have to just live it simply and then tell what we lived? The universe experiencing itself, we have to live it and then give the feedback. I liked it, I didn't, but this and that. Be the critic, please. That's what it wants. But if we mess it up and we give it the illusion that we have everything covered, we're safe, secure, this is the hierarchy, no, it will not work, and it showed us that it doesn't work. That's why we stopped believing in it. Jupiter did its job. But that's the past. Now in Aries, we have to take action based on all of what we experienced. So this is when we have to see the dates. So as I said, the 11th of May, and as soon as it enters Aries, it holds a sextile with Mercury. Mercury at that moment just started, I apologize, it's retrograde. So that also says our mindset. Mercury and Gemini. We are also judged on what we say about ourselves, on what we think about ourselves. This is where the universe is like Saturn in Aquarius. The head teacher, it wants perfection. If you want your life to physically look a certain way, you have to even be careful of what you think about yourself. Criticism is okay. But criticism always has to be why are you criticizing yourself? For constructive purposes. If you're criticizing yourself for not constructive purposes, you're your enemy. Bad karma. You're already attacking, eating yourself. It is so simple, and it is these basic spiritual lessons that we're being taught. Uranus and the nodes of the moon, especially the north node in the sign of Taurus, simplicity, basic, the nature. If you bite in your own flesh, well, you poison yourself, you hurt yourself. No. If you criticize yourself, it has to be constructive. And ultimately, listen to the conclusions that you're, thinking, that you're contemplating, that you're brainstorming. Listen to yourself. You also are a scientist yourself. Don't be lazy. Don't allow that person on the TV to tell you their science. You live, breathe, you have a brain, eyes, senses, even sixth sense, your own personal laboratory. This scanner will give you all the info that you need. You have all of this, so use it. You be the scientist. Don't believe their science. If you think that Earth is flat, maybe you know something that the rest of us don't. Don't let anyone judge you. If the universe is showing you through your own intelligence what the earth is for you personally, that is what you should believe, but not fanatically. Does it really matter? What you should believe fanatically is that you have every reason to be alive and just mind your own business. Because the divine is personally connected to you. You don't need anyone else's opinion and contribution, spiritually at least. And this, what I said, will be part of Jupiter in Aries, to mind our own businesses, because when we do, we focus energy on us, on our beliefs, our own battles, which means our own victories. If we want to hasten something up in life, we get into it. We allow it to get a bit excessive, not until burnout, but then we learn the lesson quickly, and when we have to rest, because that will not be optional, we will still tire ourselves to exhaustion. When we rest, the universe will quickly rearrange everything, and we already are in a quantum leap and don't even know it. All of this includes the lessons of Jupiter in the sign of Aries. And then on the 29th of May, as I said, uh, Jupiter will meet Mars. Now, individually, of course, when we take action, Mars, the physical action, starting, doing, saying, not doing, abandoning, finally executing the decision. But on the world stage, well, that can be a time when things get heated a lot because Jupiter and Mars, both on the world axis, that's a lot of too much action, and that can also mean an explosion. Definitely not nuke. I'm not scaring anyone. Don't mean that kind of explosion. A volcano blows up, a factory blows up, explosions, and even militaristic explosions, but not doom and gloom, and not the end of the world, and not calamity. No one wants that. This is a tactical game. This is like a psychological warfare. They don't want to destroy materially anything. So explosions, but they are still frightening even if they're natural calamities. Forest fires, unfortunately, can be included in this heat waves. And yes, so on the world stage, this can be time for militaristic action as well. So we'll see what happens around that time, because the 29th of May is just here. It's not a long time. And whatever happens around this time, but include the very beginning of 2022 for this period, what I'm saying. Whatever happens now and happened till now, well, this will somehow reward itself in November. Around the 13th, actually, of November, when the Sun, Mercury, and Venus will be in the sign of Scorpio, Jupiter will be retrograded back into Pisces, a powerful water trine, a highly mystical, alchemical, heavily karmic water trine, and trine, blessing. Whatever you suffered through, worked through, did, eliminated, faced, were brave, you did what you had to do, that is when the reward is bliss. You will truly be grateful to yourself for whatever you have done, whatever you faced. And if life kind of defeated you, kept on defeating you and hurting you and putting you down in the last 12 years, well, then this is where you finally end that and you begin the life that you always deserve to live. But it won't be handed to you on a silver tray. You've done so much inner work and karmic and all sorts of work until now. This is where you just have to step into it and have the courage to believe in it. Believe in yourself. Believe that you're healed. Not fully, of course, but believe that you're worthy of love. You're already living it, doing it. You're okay. Just believe that you're okay and go to bed with a smile on your face. Wake up with a bigger smile. This is where the doom and gloom ended. So then we get to the second half of June, when Mercury is going to rehold a sextile with Jupiter. Our current plans, everything that will be messed up, blocked, reconfigured under this Mercury retrograde season, ending on the 3rd of June. So in the second half of June, when Mercury will sextile Jupiter, those plans, the final versions of them, might see completion. They might see a lot of, joyfulness and reward. Because this is a sextile. Mercury is happy in Gemini. Jupiter is very happy in Aries. When you're happy with your plans, happy with your schedules, happy with your decisions, content with your life, and this is a sextile, you have to hold this frequency to truly feel that happiness, if you know what I mean. And then late July, Jupiter will square Venus. Very strong and tough choices. But those choices is where you break the past. You break that which you never ever wanted to become. You know, Venus is in the sign of Cancer at that time, late July this year. So what, and Venus is conjunct Black Moon Lilith. This is important because this is when you will see, well, after all, you know, when your mom told you you're always gonna be this and that, your dad told you, oh son, you'll never do this and that, your neighbor, your teacher, whoever put you down. But family, especially Cancer, you know, emotionally, boyfriend, girlfriend, family, cousin, whoever, teacher, boss, especially boss. Boss is not the sign of Cancer, you'd say, but it's Capricorn. The opposite of Cancer. Capricorn punched into Cancer, you know? It punched into your Cancer. That angry boss, the unforgiving boss, whoever hurt you, that is when you see that they weren't right. That victory actually belongs to you because you did not become that person. And the fact that they told you hurtfully, in a hurtful manner, that you'll become this and that, they did done you a massive favor because you worked all your life unconsciously. You were programmed not to become that. There were moments when you had to become near to becoming that. Yes, absolutely. To feel on your own skin why it's not okay to be that kind of person. And at the moment of realization, when you looked into the mirror and saw, I'm almost becoming what my mom, my dad, my boss, my whoever said I'm gonna become, that was the quantum leap, the leap of faith when you broke free. That was when you broke the pattern for good. So they done you a favor. Those souls who criticize you, they were actually guardian angels because they made sure you won't become that. So that is the highest meaning of Venus squaring this Jupiter in Aries. Well, look at who I am today. I'm not that failure. Maybe I'm not the success either, but I'm better. I'm beyond what the universe created me. Not just me alone. 50% is the universe. So that is miraculous. That is amazing. You have to be proud of yourself. And square with Venus is okay because it's also Black Moon Lilith. Lilith is going to be triggered. So be aware that for some people this will be the negative, the bad octave, where they will see that they actually became that person and they won't be happy. They will be toxic and they will spill their poison onto anyone, especially someone who has the courage to be happy and smile. No smiling here, sir. So those people will be sworn enemies, you know. That the Lilith and the Venus, they have to be good bedfellows, a conjunction. And Jupiter is provoking them still. So there will be a lot of conflict and emotional matters, but it will hold a trine with Mercury at this time in Leo. And what does that mean? They will show their true colors, who they are, their hearts of hearts. So this is a blessing, really. And then Jupiter will also trine the Sun in Leo, the summer in your life. On the world stage, it won't be summer. Okay, maybe the world will a tiny bit be in flames and smoke and stuff like that, and the heat won't be that nice. But that doesn't mean for you personally, your own divine guidance did not make sure that you can live your summer, your siesta, your childishness. Sun in Leo. Be the child, embrace, enjoy, or create, for some people, create children. The perfect time to start having your own child, if you know what I mean. Very, very good energy for that. And then at the end, Jupiter will stop at 8 degrees and around 42 minutes of the sign of Aries, where it will begin its retrograde. Jupiter retrograde starts on the 28th of July and it ends on the 23rd of November. So at the very beginning of its retrograde, when Jupiter will stand still in the sky, it will be in shadow. That is when it is in strongest. And Jupiter shadow, so stationary in the sign of Aries, that is the moment of courage that not even you yourself ever thought you would be capable of. This is when like a grandma decides that she's going bungee jumping and she's doing it and she loves it. This is the most fun expression of this energy. For some people, this will be the moment of courage. I quit. They go to the CEO, to that person who other people regard almost as a god, and they say, I quit. And the sheer satisfaction and the moment of victory, the triumph. And of course, this will mean salt in wounds for other people, because that boss, that manager has lost one of its most valuable allies. But maybe that manager had this Aries for their 7th house. So anyway, a lot of people will also make enemies. This is also part of the deal, because Aries can be heavily egotic, or how you pronounce it, egoistic, self-centered, narcissistic even. But it is not Aries who is the good narcissist. Aries is pretty amateur, because if Aries gets what it wants, it's not selfish anymore. Aries is very easy energy, really. But when triggered, run as far as you can, because you can't reason with. The ram is coming at you. There's no stopping. So this sextile with Mercury, well, that is the moment when mental sphere, it will reach your moment of victory, defeat, or how things truly stand, but on a big, more divine picture, sinks in and it motivates you. It is a highly motivational energy. Even if it's a defeat, it's what maybe a good defeat. I'm so glad that I'm not the one to take responsibility for the victory. I can just quickly go discreetly and mind my own business, not be involved in any of this anymore. So for some people, it will be like a big blessing. A big, very big blessing. The fact that they weren't victorious. Especially if someone desires vengeance. And they don't get it, but they still get a moment of confrontation. That can be much better than a vengeful confrontation, because if it gets to forgiveness, for example. So Jupiter is very good at things like that. You never thought you would forgive someone? Give Jupiter in Aries a try. So on the 28th of October 2022, Jupiter re-enters, retrogrades back into the sign of Pisces, and that will be a massive karmic conclusion for those of us who are living very heavily karmic times right now, in the now, when Jupiter was in the last degrees of Pisces. So March, April, May 2022, whatever happened